1937, Nazi German and Italian bombers attacked the Basque city of Guernica. In just 3 hours, they destroyed 3/4 of this ancient town, killing and wounding hundreds of civilians. According to the reports at the time, the raid was unparalleled in military history. As Europe moved towards war, Spain became one of the battlegrounds for the forces of fascism and communism. But it inspired one of the biggest movements for anti-war art creation. Less than a month after the bombing, artists were brought together for the Paris World's Fair that took place on the brink of World War II and was dedicated to art and technology in modern life. There, the Spanish Pavilion revealed to the world art inspired by the rise of authoritarianism and General Franco's cruelty in the Spanish Civil War. The Spanish Pavilion showcased the works of Julio González, Joan Miró, Alexander Calder, Alberto Sanchez, and Pablo Picasso. Picasso was commissioned to create a mural. Earlier in 1937, he had made prints for a piece called Dream and Lie of Franco that was intended to be anti-nationalist propaganda against the regime of General Franco. This work comprised of 18 individual images, 14 of which were dated January 8, 1937, over 3 months before the bombing of Guernica. The remaining 4 images were of June 7th, after Picasso had accepted the commission for the Spanish Pavilion. However, after reading George Steere's eyewitness account of the attack on the city of Guernica by Franco's allies, Picasso decided to abandon this initial idea to work on Guernica, a piece that would come to symbolize the wider fight against fascism. It is regarded by many art critics as the most moving and powerful painting of the 20th century. This enormous mural took Picasso 5 weeks to complete and depicts the suffering brought on by the violence and chaos of a senseless war. Picasso rarely allowed strangers to come into his studio, but while painting Guernica, he let in influential visitors to come and observe him working because he believed that the publicity would help the anti-fascist cause. Picasso himself summed up his decision, remarking in 1937, "I have always believed and still believe that artists who live and work with spiritual values cannot and should not remain indifferent to a conflict in which the highest values of humanity and civilization are at stake." Guernica conveys both a personal and a universal experience, an expression of private individual pain and public opposition to the actions of fascists during the Spanish Civil War. The painting is made with a monochromatic palette of whites, grays, and blacks. The paint he used was made specially for him. He requested that it have the least amount of gloss possible to convey the mourning and agony of the mural's message. At first glance, all we see is death and anguish. The figures seem to be overlapped and distorted, conveying a feeling of angst. The painting is done in the Cubist style Picasso is known for, meaning he analyzed the objects, broke them up, and reassembled them in an abstracted form. So it takes a few seconds for our eyes to adjust and pick a subject to focus on amidst the jumbled masses of body parts. Slowly, the figures emerge out of this tightly filled room. The first of the many subjects that caught my eye is this woman, screaming, grieving her child as it dies in her arms. An image we've all seen in the news over the years, but one that we've perhaps become desensitized to. Above her, there's a wide-eyed bull standing tall, unharmed and rather calm amidst the chaos. One of the most popular interpretations of the bull is that it is a symbol of the cruelty of war, maybe the silent brutality of a war general in the battleground, perhaps a testament to the darkness of Franco's choices as a leader. To its right is a horse that appears to be in agony. It has been stabbed as shown by the large hole on its side. Under it, its rider, a soldier, lies dismembered. On his left hand, we can see an etching of a stigmata on the palm, a symbol of martyrdom derived from the stigmata of Christ. His right arm is clutching onto a shattered sword. As we move to the right, we can see the head and arm of a woman coming in through a window. She is carrying a flame-lit lamp. The look on her face is of shock as she stumbles into this room of battle. Below her is a woman approaching the center of the canvas, looking up at the blazing ceiling light with a rather expressionless gaze. On the far right, a fourth woman is screaming in terror, depicted by her raising arms, wide mouth, and head thrown back. She's being engulfed by flames from below and above. Her right hand suggests the shape of an airplane, perhaps the same ones that dropped the bomb on this beautiful city and caused this horrific event. There are also parts of this painting that are hidden, only to be noticed after a viewer has stared at it for more than the few seconds it takes to walk in front of it on the way to admire the next piece on the walls of the museum. The 4 out of the 5 human subjects here are women. This could be that at the time of the bombing, the majority of Guernica's men were away, fighting on behalf of the Republicans, so the town was populated mostly by women and children. There's a dove hidden between the bull and the horse on the dark background. In the Catholic Church, the Holy Spirit is often represented as a white dove. This leads many to believe that Picasso placed the dove halfway in the dark and the light to depict that the Holy Spirit is breaking past the darkness of the events happening around it to once again bring forth peace in the near future. Another symbol of peace that Picasso carefully placed here is in the soldier's right hand. Out of the shattering sword, a flower grows. Out of the chaos of war, humanity's hope. The entire scene is lit by a light bulb. Picasso may have been drawing inspiration from Francisco Goya when he decided to include the light. He mentioned Goya's The 3rd of May painting a few days before submitting Guernica to the Paris World's exhibition. He said, "And then there's the enormous lantern on the ground in the center. That lantern, what does it illuminate? The fellow with upraised arms, the martyr. You look carefully, its light falls only on him. The lantern is death. Why? We don't know, nor did Goya. But Goya, he knew it had to be like that." Perhaps the light symbolizes the agony of faith in science and progress and man's choice to use scientific advancements to create destruction and death. Unsurprisingly, Guernica was changed a few times before it was exhibited. One of the earlier drafts showed a raised fist, which is a universal symbol of solidarity in resistance to oppression. He also included color, one single red teardrop falling from the crying woman's eye. These initial choices did not make it into the final version of the painting. This painting has become one of the most powerful images of indictment against war. The awe that a viewer experiences standing in front of the mural comes from its overwhelming size at 11 feet tall and 25 feet wide. It invites you in. It's not a painting to be examined with spatial detachment, but one that you feel a part of. One you feel at one with. Picasso refused to comment on the symbolism of this piece, intending to leave it ambiguous for viewers to create meaning on their own. Perhaps this ambiguity and the fact that wars are still being fought keeps Guernica as timelessly relevant and universally relatable today as it was in 1937.